4.6 to go. Milton inbound to Tobias Harris, fires off the three, and that's going to do it. The Golden State Warriors earned their 15th win.
Yo, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to my first attempt at making a video like this. Right now, we're in the midst of a coronavirus suspension of the NBA season, so I figured I'd give a little bit of a update video on where the Sixers are, where they're going from here, what their chances look like the rest of the year, and if the year continues, that is. So, the coronavirus suspension definitely helps the Sixers in some weird ways, because obviously Embiid is always lingering with injuries and gives him time to rest in the middle of the season, as well as Ben obviously having more time now to recover from his injury that he was dealing with in his back. So overall, I do think that as much as it sucks to not be able to watch basketball at this time, it does benefit the Sixers, assuming that the season resumes eventually. So as you guys know, the Sixers' last 5 games consisted of that 4-game West road trip in which they went 1-3, losing a horrible game to the Warriors, which I'm going to go over a little bit later in this video. And they salvaged the win against the Kings, and then most recently got a win against the Pistons in Joel's return, which 2-3 definitely does not help them in the standings. They're still stuck down in 6th place. They don't even have the tiebreaker with Indiana right now to be in 5th, so they're not looking good. In fact, the only thing really still giving them any sense of hope is their slightly easier schedule the rest of the year. They have 10 at home, 7 on the road left, 17 games total, but in those home games they do have the Bucks, Pacers, Raptors, Trailblazers, and Rockets, which are all very losable games even at home. And then to go on the road for 7, with how they play on the road, very possible to go 3-4, 2-5 in that stretch. So it does not bode well in terms of confidence in their standings, and like most people, I don't have confidence in them to win much more than a first-round playoff series, depending on who the matchup is. I like them against Boston. I do think they match up well there. Toronto, I'm very afraid of. Miami, I think they're young. I don't think they're ready in the playoffs yet. I do think the Sixers would beat Miami at full strength. And Indiana, I'm not afraid of, but it's mainly Milwaukee and Toronto that I feel like are the biggest threats. So as I said earlier, I wanted to go over the end of this Warriors game because in a game against the Warriors without Steph and Draymond, Sixers really should have won this game and could have won this game had they made proper decisions towards the end. I'm going to cut it here specifically at the end because I don't want this video to be too long, but if we look here with the Sixers play down 1 with about 35 seconds left, it's Tobias gets the ball to Horford, a good look for 3, misses it. That's really uncontrollable. You get the offensive rebound. Right here is where I think the Sixers messed up, because they got 2 lucky breaks, because not only did Al Horford miss an open 3 that you got the offensive rebound for, Mike Scott also got blocked at the rim and got his own rebound. So they had 2 opportunities here to make a shot and didn't. Now, keep in mind the Sixers still have 2 timeouts left at this point, and ultimately don't end up using both at the end of the game. So I would have most definitely, in the chaotic scenario here, used a timeout right now, redesigned a play, got something going with the final 11 seconds. However, the Sixers did not do this, and it ended up with a chaos to try and get the ball to Tobias, which is what they designed, and ultimately ended up with Shake Milton firing up a deep 3 contested that barely hit the rim, in which that was essentially where the game was lost. So I definitely think not being able to think fast enough to call a timeout there definitely diminished the Sixers' chances, because a timeout there, a fresh play, you get the ball to Tobias like you designed it, instead of having Shake fire up that shot from center court. It really was what drew the game to the end, although that's really not where it ended. So I made a mistake in saying that the game was over when Brett Brown decided not to use a timeout there. They still were in the game. They were down 3 here, advanced the ball with their timeout. Obviously needed a 3 to tie the game. Brett Brown decided not to draw the play up for Tobias Harris, who had been shooting hot from 3, but rather decided to draw it up for Korkmaz, who had had a relatively pedestrian game from 3. The play had Korkmaz in motion, down on the side there. caught the ball on the wing and ultimately stepped out of bounds. That's not what I didn't like about that play, but what I didn't like was the fact that Korkmaz caught the ball in motion. Statistically, that's not really his game. He's not really a catch in motion type shooter. He's more of a stationary, catching the ball off of another person's play. That's why he works so well in tandem with people who draw a lot of defensive attention, like Ben and Joel. He can catch it as the attention is drawn away from him, stationary. That play, he was in motion. Even had he not stepped out of bounds, he would have been taking a less than ideal shot and had had a rough shooting night that night. I really didn't like that play call. Obviously, stepping out of bounds is what ended the game. The Warriors dribbled it out, got fouled a few times, but I think this game was a disaster for the Sixers. Honestly, to drop a game to such a bad team, missing their two best players, was essentially the last thing the Sixers needed, as they're now, as I said, in the 6th seed in the East, and it's going to be very difficult to win playoff series against teams in their conference that are maybe not as talented as them, but having to be on the road for 4 games out of 7 does not help their case whatsoever, considering how bad they play on the road, and this game was really one of their worst of the entire season. So to conclude here, I kind of just wanted to go over a general summary of my prediction for the Sixers the remainder of the year. I don't think they're going on any type of playoff push past a round if they don't make a run at the end of the season here. If you do recall, in the 17-18 season 2 years ago, they went on a crazy win streak at the end of the year to get into the 3rd seed, which I do think is possible here if they get their full team back, but given how they've been playing recently and how they've played overall throughout the whole year, I don't see this happening. I do think they will end up with either the 4th or 5th seed. I think they will eventually pass Indiana because of how Oladipo is struggling, and I think they will beat the Miami Heat in the 1st round and ultimately lose to the Bucks in the 2nd round, probably in around 5 to 6 games. I don't see them giving too much of a struggle in Milwaukee that many nights. Again, this is assuming the fact they don't make a push. If they do end up in the 3 seed, I do think they will obviously beat Indiana in the 1st round at home, and then going to Toronto, I don't think I can pick them in that series either on the road against a team they don't match up well against. No matter what happens, I really don't like them getting out of the 2nd round, and given the hype this team had in the offseason, 2nd round would be very disappointing once again. I don't think Brett Brown survives as a coach unless they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and give presumably the Bucks, or whoever they're playing, a serious run for their money. Anything short of that, I do think he'll be gone. I think the Sixers will look at candidates in the offseason. At least I'm hoping that's what they'll do. I'm hoping they're not too attached to Brett Brown at this point, but ultimately I don't think the Sixers are going to make it out of the 2nd round again this year, which I was very excited for this season. I did like the Al Horford acquisition when it happened. I no longer am that big a fan of it, knowing that we could have essentially kept Jimmy Butler had we given up on our coach, which the organization decided to stick with the coach rather than him. This was obviously very disturbing because I like Jimmy on the Sixers, but aside from the point, I want to wrap this video up now because I don't want it to be too long. But let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, what I should change for next time. I'm going to keep making these videos every couple of days, and I'm going to cover a variety of stuff. So if there's something I want to cover, comment it on the Instagram, comment in the comments on YouTube, and thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, wash your hands.